All right. As always, you can reach out to us in the YouTube comments or comments anywhere or at UnsexyBusinessmen. We'll have that on the screen at gmail.com. So we have two. I'm going to start off with one from a YouTube subscriber, Simone. Thanks for sending in the question, Simone. This one is more for Erin. Her question was, I'm new to commercial cleaning. I want to have competitive rates, but don't know what to charge. So commercial pricing
Yeah,
question.
this is great. Great question, Simone, because I literally had the exact same question when I was starting my business and got into the commercial side. So what I did, and this is honestly, this will be for almost any aspect of a service business. You kind of have to just call around to your competition, pretend that you have a building, and I mean so what I would do, what I did was if I was going to bid on a building, and let's say it's 10,000 square feet, and you have all the things, how the frequency of the cleaning and there's just everything that they want done. I would then call two or three different places and give them all that information. I wouldn't say, "Hey, I'm Simone from Honestly Clean. Can you give me like?" I was like, "Hey," I would just call them up like, "Hey, this is Aaron. I have a building. It's 10,000 square feet. I want it cleaned 5 times a week, and blah 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 blah. Whatever the things are, and then like, could you just send me like what's a rough estimate for something along those for doing something like that?" And then you get at least a general idea of what other people are charging, and that doesn't really, not only that doesn't even mean like, okay, well, I have to charge that. The other thing too is, and this is what I was talking, it's funny because I was talking to one of the other entrepreneurs that bought our course. I was talking to him on Monday about this, was you kind of have to learn really quick of being able to do an estimate on a building just off the fly. Like I would walk into a building and I would just walk through it with the manager, and I would know by the end, just in my mind, how many hours it was going to take. And then it's easy from there because it's like, all right, it's going to take 5 hours a night to clean this building. And then you just, how much, per hour do you want to make? Then you start have to do all your finance stuff. You have your employees, you have this and this. Ours was, dude, this was like 10 years ago. I think we were doing like $30 an hour at the time. It's probably more than that. But the whole point of before you even get to that part is find out from your competition what they're charging, because then you could break it down. You're like, okay, I know I could do this in 5 hours. They're saying they're going to charge, I have to do math on the fly. Great. They're going to charge $5,000 a month, and then you just kind of break down. All right, 5 hours a night times 5 times 4. So that's 1,000,000 hours. No, just joking. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like the first thing you want to do is find out what your competition is charging. That's probably the most important thing. And then, like I said, don't feel like you have to go lower. Because a lot of the times we would run into managers who they wanted the middle. They didn't want the lowest, they want the highest. So that's probably the best way to do that is just find out what your competition is charging and then get something in the middle. And then when you're walking through that building that you want to bid on, just develop that ability to know how long something's going to take. And listen, when I first started doing that, sometimes I was off by an hour or two, maybe, which can be a big deal. But the nice thing is, if you're going and you're doing an awesome job and you build up a good relationship with that manager, and you're like, hey, and this literally happened to us in the beginning. You build up a good relationship, like, hey, we're actually end up like, it's going to be a little more expensive next month. We're really dedicating a lot more time to making sure the building looks good, and you have to make sure they're happy, because if they're happy, like, yeah, the building's looking fantastic, like, it's going to be an extra $500 a month or whatever it is. They're almost always cool with it because they like you, they like your service, and they don't want to have to go through the whole rigmarole of trying to find someone else again, because they know that the likelihood of bringing somebody in that's going to do as good of a job as you've been doing is very low. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question, Simone. Buyer course. Okay. Set up a meeting with me. I'd love to talk to you. Set up a meeting. We can do a 15-minute free call. And I'd love to talk to you more about it.
Yeah, I don't have much to add because I primarily do pricing in much different realms, but It is always just you have to know, like, I base everything off of a place that I worked and how much they were charging, and then the number of hours that I thought it would take to do whatever someone is doing, and then multiplying what our hourly rate was by that. And I agree with
Can we
Aaron.
put
I
a
think the
link?
most important thing that Aaron said was, and if you build a good rapport, even if you're off a little, the devil that you know versus the devil that you don't. You're an angel usually if you're cleaning really well, so they're not going to be like, let's go take the risk of finding someone who, best case scenario, does the same job as you and costs a little bit less. Worst case scenario is a catastrophe.
I literally never had a client um once we told me how to raise the rate. I mean, you're not going to be like, we're doubling the rates, but I never had a client that say, hey, we got to raise our rates by whatever, ever say we're not going to do that, we're going to find somebody else. They probably would have said that if I said we have to double it, but it was something reasonable. But because of that rapport, like Alex, you were saying, that you have with that person, it was always like, oh, okay, yeah. And there's like a reasoning behind it. It's not like, because I want more money, or just like, I got a vacation I got to pay for. If it's like it's a legitimate, it's going to be a legit reason of why you're doing it. It's not just to rip off your client.
All right, next question. Wrong shipping address and improperly shipped second order. I run a deadline driven business, and one of my best, most consistent customers recently gave me 2 rush orders going to 2 different locations. Everything was entered correctly, but one of my employees decided to send both orders to the same address. At the last minute, I had the whole team rally. We made the order and shipped it next day with Saturday delivery, except this morning I woke up to panic calls because the Saturday box wasn't checked. Now the replacement order is also going to miss the deadline. Oh, so it wasn't. Okay. I'm almost certain this customer won't come back. I feel like firing everyone. And honestly, I know I'm unreasonably upset, but I'm overwhelmed, stressed, and the business has been growing fast. I probably need to put better processes in place and improve my management skills. So here's my question. Where did I go wrong? How can I avoid this in the future?
So, first advice is a tale as old as time. Never make decisions when you're mad, ever, in any facet of your life. So yeah, don't go fire everybody unless everybody's no. Don't always take a breather. And you wrote an email, so maybe that's your way of kind of decompressing. The processes, that's the way you solve this. The problem is you have employees make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. But if you have when a mistake happens and you can set up a new, checks and balances, whatever it is in your system to prevent that from happening in the future, that's just how businesses are. Businesses make mistakes, and then you learn to not make the same mistake again. So that's what I would do. I would just have a new system of someone needs to check on this specific, box that we're clicking on to make sure it's shipped on the right date or whatever it is. And then have a training where you kind of talk about it and why it's so important. That's what I would do.
Right. I reading this email again, but one of my employees decided to send both orders to the same address. I don't like I know that you're probably like super pissed off. I don't like the proactive language that you're using there, where it makes it seem like this person was proactively like, I'm going to send it to both locations. What happened is a rush order happened. Everyone's stressed because you have to get this out as quickly as possible. This customer unfortunately has 2 locations, and this person was just trying to get them to this person as quickly as possible. So ease up on your employee there who's just trying to meet the deadlines. It actually sounds like your employee is probably a really good employee if they're able to work under this type of stress. But like Aaron said, I don't know in this specific example of how like you communicate, where it's like anytime it's a singular client with 2 locations in big red, it says send to 2 separate locations, which then forces someone to go and see which one needs to go to which location. But apart from that, like if I wanted to give you like specific things that you can do in your processes, because you already know the answer to this question, you said it in your email. You're like, I probably need to put better processes in place and improve my management skills. Yes, I have a feeling you are a person, love you. I have a feeling you are a person who just trusts your people to do stuff and like throws it at them. Like, you guys can figure this out. And you can't do that. You can't, like, there are certain things where you can practice that. But when it comes to getting something delivered, not like testing things out. It has to be X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And we're actually going to do a standard operating procedures podcast for next week. So perhaps tune into that one, and that can help you avoid this mistake in the future. But yeah, I think you're just really pissed off. I'm sure you're settled down since sending this email, but your people sound awesome. They're performing under pressure. Just fix the process that led to this.
And thanks for the email. And thank you for listening.
And that's everything that I got. Once again, it's unsexybusinessmen@gmail.com, or we respond to comments that you guys leave in YouTube or on the podcast. Everyone have a wonderful rest of the week, and we will chat with you all again next week. Bye, guys.